Hi, I'm Martha. Welcome to Essential Somatics. In this video, I'd like to give you some tips to help you get the most benefit out of three very important and basic movements: arch and flatten, the back lift, and the side bend. Now, somatic movements address muscle function and muscle length at the level of the nervous system. They also teach you how to reduce tension in the back, the front, and the sides of your body so that you can more easily extend, flex, side bend, and rotate your entire body, but always coming back to the ability to find your own neutral, balanced and centered on both legs, nice and tall through your skeleton. Well, sensory motor amnesia takes that away. So the movements are actually designed to help you find neutral in the back, the front, and the sides of your body. But if you were to have a trauma reflex, for instance, tighter on one side, a little bit twisted, you're going to find that arch and flatten, the back lift, and the side bend really highlight where it is that you cannot control your muscles. So let's start with arch and flatten. So arch and flatten is simply an arching, a contracting of both sides of the back muscles and a release of the entire center of the body, and then a melting right back down to neutral, sending your pelvis right down the center. But if you have a trauma reflex, tighter on one side, you're going to find that you're putting a little bit of excess weight into one hip or the other, and you're just getting really good at arching and flattening.
As you inhale and arch and exhale and release to neutral, notice whether or not you're arching and releasing right down the center of your tailbone, or whether or not your brain is tipping you a little bit more to one side or to the other. Notice this, and if you're tipping to one side more than the other, exaggerate that. Tip to one side and notice the arch in the opposite side of your back, and exhale and release to neutral. Do this 2 more times and feel free to add the opposite shoulder pressing down and the head gently tipping to that side. What you're doing is you're exaggerating your brain's pattern in order to highlight this and notice it. And now you're going to add new awareness and new sensation by going into the other side. Inhale and arch and tip into the opposite side. Make sure this is comfortable and please don't force. You're just exploring. Inhaling and arching, tipping into the opposite side, stopping to press the opposite shoulder down and highlight that pattern of contraction through the back, and then a release all the way to neutral. Once you've done that 3 times on each side, relax. And now let's see if you can go right down the center. Go ahead and inhale and arch. Gently and softly within your comfort range, and see if you can go right down the center now and slowly release all the way down with both sides of your back landing at the same time. Do this a couple more times and see if you've recalibrated your ability to find neutral through your spine.
Let's move on to the back lift. A common complaint for people when they do the back lift is, oh, this hurts my SI joint, or I feel it right here in the center of my sacrum. Why would that happen? Usually that's because, again, let's think of the trauma reflex. One side is slightly tighter, so instead of having the pelvis flush on the mat, the pelvis is slightly rotated. So you're actually using one side of your back muscles instead of the diagonal pattern of your back muscles. So here's how you can change that for a much more easeful, efficient back lift.
Ideally in the back lift, as you inhale and lift up, the front of the body releases and lengthens as the back contracts, and then you melt back to neutral and completely relax. But if you're stuck in a trauma reflex, you'll find that as you inhale, your brain twists you into one side, into the tighter side, and it could cause discomfort in your SI joint or in the front of your hips. So take the fingertips of both hands and put them in the front of your pelvis, the tips of your hips. And let's do something. Rock into that side and slowly release through neutral and go to the other side. You're exaggerating your brain's pattern so that you notice it if it happens unconsciously. You're intentionally rocking into one side and slowly finding neutral and then into the other side. And then returning to neutral. So at neutral now, slowly lift that one leg and see if it isn't a little easier now that your pelvis is flush. So let's do the full expression of the back lift with the non-working leg gently planted. As you inhale, completely release the front of your body and allow the back to contract gently and float yourself back down to neutral. Finding neutral through your pelvis will help your coordination and improve the coordination front to back.
Lastly, the side bend. Now, a lot of people, when they do the side bend, they don't realize that a couple of things are happening. One is they're actually not using their waist muscles. They're trying to do the movement by using their leg. The movement is centered right here, contracting to the side, laterally flexing, and simply releasing. One side's learning to contract, while the other side is learning to let go. So, they also think they're going to the side, but actually what they're doing is falling forward or twisting backward, or maybe even arching their back in a little bit of a green light reflex. So in order to do this simple movement, which is merely side flexion, here are a couple tips.
Put your fingertips in your waist and notice how ideally, as you exhale to float the head and the foot up, the waist muscles should contract to bring you up and then slowly release to let you down. However, for some, as they exhale, they're curling forward into a red light reflex, or they're twisting back into a trauma reflex, while others are arching their back just a little bit in a green light reflex. Now, none of these is neutral right down the side. So in order to feel the top side waist, let's do this. Inhale, and then on the exhale, sweep the fingertips and the arm up to the ceiling, over past your hip towards the bottom of your mat, and slowly float it back up over your head and completely release. As you inhale into the top side ribs, notice how open they are. As you exhale to sweep your arm up and over, notice the contraction in the top side ribs and the release in the bottom side ribs. And then slowly lengthen and release to neutral. Then put your hands on your top side ribs and notice what you feel. Is there more sensation along the side body?
So I hope you found these tips useful. Remember, somatic movements merely help you to find neutral by reducing excess muscle tension so that you can arch, curl, side bend, rotate, and move in any way you like, in any activity you like, for as long as you like. This profound and powerful change happens from the inside out, and you're the one who does it. So enjoy your practice. Make it as easeful, pleasant, and curious as possible, and let me know how it goes. Thanks for joining me.